Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Godswill. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always,
Choose your fighter.
I boarded my flights from Enugu International Airport. I think 1:30 or 1:25. I can't really remember. I was at the airport around 11 or 11:30. Yeah, around 11:30 ish. Um, I came in. The first thing I did was to weigh my bags. My bags were a little bit overweight, so I had to take out irrelevant things from the bag. I was planning to pay for excess luggage, but thankfully I did not pay for it at the end. So, where the problem started was with the immigration section at the airport. I went to them, they asked me to give them some documents, my acceptance letter, my enrollment letter, my deposit receipt, my passport, obviously. And I was providing them with all these documents, you get. So I feel like they were seeing that I was forthcoming and they asked me to open my school portal. I was like, school portal since when? When did they start opening school portal for immigration? Because I did my research. I've never heard of immigration officers at the airport asking, passengers to open their school portal. This is actually the first time. But I was like, oh, let me open my school portal for you. I mean, I could have easily lied about the situation and be like, oh, they're not going to give us access to our school portal until we have done registration here in Canada. So I would have easily lied about the situation, but I was like, no, I have my school portal, so why not open it for her? But then I was trying to open my school portal. My school portal was not opening. I don't know if it was the Nigerian network. I don't know what it was, but the portal was not opening. At some point, I even had to bring out my laptop. I had to bring out my laptop. I tried to still open it on my laptop. It wasn't working. I was explaining to this woman. I was telling her, Ma, this thing is not working. It's not opening. I think it's the network. I think it's from the school. I don't know what it is. But I'm putting in my login details and it's not working. This woman deliberately kept me there for the next 30 to 40 minutes. I'm not joking, guys. I was literally the last person to board the flight that day. She kept me there. I think sometimes I feel like they do it intentionally to frustrate passengers. I don't know why. Some of them claim that they are doing their jobs, but sometimes it's just a little too much. I've given you all the evidence that you need to know that I'm a legit student in Canada. So, like, why would you keep me there that long? Because I know that they just intentionally do it because at the end she still let me pass. So, why would she keep me there that long? So, at the end of everything, Auntie still let me pass. I checked in my bags. By that time, I was already running late. The flight was about to leave me, guys. So they gave me a card to fill. I wasn't even able to fill that card. It was one man that helped me to fill that card. Very nice man. So I boarded the flight. I was sweating, guys. I was sweating. If you see me, you think I ran from my house to the airport. I was sweating because every section in that airport was just filled with one frustration or the other. They will ask you, "Oh, do weekend for me, give us money, this, that." It was just too much. I was very, very bothered that I would miss that flight. But as God will have it, I made the flight. So we began our journey. I think our journey from Nigeria to Ethiopia was like probably 4 hours, I think. Yeah, around 4 hours. It was at that point I was already getting tired of the journey because of what had happened with the immigration people at Nigeria. So I wasn't feeling the journey like that anymore. But at some point I just snapped out of it. I was like, these people will not take my joy away from me. So I started recording because that's why I don't have any footage from the airport because I already at that point I wasn't even ready to start recording again. But I was like, these people will not make me not record this vlog for you guys. So I started recording again. The flight attendants, they gave us this really nice meal. I think that was fish and rice or spaghetti or something like that. Very nice meal, very tasty. We flew for like the next 4 hours. If you see me, you know that I was bored in that plane because the flight was already getting long and the journey has not even started. So eventually we landed in Ethiopia. We did the security checks. Ethiopia is really, really nice, guys. Like, I didn't go into the country, but from the airport, you will know that these people are doing really, really well for themselves. They did their security checks, very professional. Nobody was going to ask you for money. Nobody's asking you for anything. They're just really professional with their work. They did all the security checks. Just give them your documents and you're good to go. So after a while, when I finished my security checks, I waited in the, will I call it lounge or lobby? I don't know what to call it, for the flight to start boarding. So the flight started to board. I can't really remember the exact time, but I didn't spend so much time in the Ethiopian airport. The flight started to board and we were to go to Rome. So my flight is basically from Nigeria to Ethiopia, from Ethiopia to Rome, from Rome to Toronto, from Toronto to BC, which is my final destination. So we started to board for Rome. It was like a 2 hour flight or 3 hours. I don't know why Ethiopian Airlines is carrying me around the entire world, but that's the thing with connecting flights. It's cheaper, but you go here, you gonna say you enter, you know, cheap flights. So they flew us all the way to Rome. What they did in Rome was basically to refuel the plane and also to change the crew. That's like the flight attendants, the pilots, the captain. And then from there, we now flew to Toronto. Guys, that was the longest flight I've ever been on in my life. I mean, in 2017, I visited the States, but it was a direct flight and I flew Delta. It was a very, very smooth, swift journey. I didn't even feel the journey at all. But from that Rome to Toronto it was a long flight, guys. It was a long, long, long flight. In the plane, they brought us this food that looked really strange to me. I don't know if it's dried ewedu soup that they just dried and put inside one kind yellow pudding or a big porridge. It just looks really weird. The same way they gave me that food, I just packaged it for them and gave it back to them. I mean, I did taste the yellow parts, but it just tasted like salt. Like I don't know what it tasted like. It was like potato, but then like potato that was, it's not mashed potato because I've had mashed potato before. It just looked really weird. So I just packaged it in and gave it back to them. I was like, I was not eating. Then I think the second meal that they bought was a lot more edible. Yeah, I think it was the same, probably beef spaghetti or something like that. So I had my regular orange juice, and then the flights, the journey kept on going. That journey was so long, guys. So we eventually arrived in Toronto. I now had to go through immigration because that's the first thing that I need to do. So you better have all your documents ready. Follow everybody else. Be reading signs. Be listening to the staff. The immigration process was not really that difficult. It literally took me like 2 minutes with the immigration officer, but like the process from the plane to like when I was done with immigration was a lot longer. But like the interview was not even long at all. Like I feel like some YouTubers have made this whole port of entry thing look so scary and difficult, like as if you're going for an examination. No, that's not what it was for me. It was very, very easy. I think what they just require you to do is just to reconfirm the information that you had already given them prior. I mean, if they don't want you in their country, they wouldn't have given you the visa in the first place. So I just feel like that process is just to reconfirm that what you told them is the truth. So I did my immigration thing. They gave me my study permit, and then that was when the second obstacle hits. I missed my flights. I think nobody, because I asked some of the staff there, they were like, nobody from Ethiopia made it on that flight. I called my sis, and then God bless my brother-in-law, because if not for him, I don't know what I would have done. I would have probably spent money to buy a new ticket. So he told me what I needed to do, and I think I'll make a video on this as well to tell people what they need to do in case they miss their flight, so they don't spend like a night or two in an Airbnb or in a hotel or pay for another ticket. There's just something that you need to do that would literally cost you no money at all. So that was what I did, and I got on the next flight to BC. They gave me the back seat. But I was like, even if at this point people will give me toilets to sit down in, I will take it because I was tired of that Toronto airport, man. It was very stressful. So when we eventually arrived in BC, we went out of the plane to claim our baggage. That was when another obstacle hits, guys. My bags did not come with me. I don't even know, Seth. Like, I think what went through my mind at that point was like, are you sure my bags are not still in Nigeria? I wish my bags even made it to Canada at all. Like I was like, what's in this up? Like, what's going on? Amo, what's the next thing to do? What's the next thing to do? I can't just stay here and start to think all sorts of things. So I went to the customer service for baggage claims, and then I explained everything to her. Told her how I missed my flight due to immigration. Told her, basically everything to the point that we're at now. And she was like, "Oh, let me quickly check my system." She checked her system and saw my bags. Thankfully, my bags were in Toronto. They just have not made it to BC yet. I was like, thank God. I was like, okay, so when am I getting it? She was like, oh, I have two options. That I'll either go and then they would send the bags to me via delivery or whatever, or that I could wait. I was like, me, I'm waiting. I'm not going anywhere because before I konyera akoko. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. There, I would wait. I would rather wait. I asked her how long do I have to wait. She was like, oh, the flights would arrive in the next 3 hours. I was like, toh. She had 3 hours. It's not today that we started to wait. Let us wait for another 3 hours. It's not these 3 hours that will kill me. So I waited in the BC airport for another 3 hours, guys. Like, and as this thing we are doing, time is going. Time is going, guys. And this is all happening in the freezing cold because this is winter period. So as God will have it, the flights came in and my bags were on there. I carried my bags on one now. It's time to go. I called the lady, very nice lady, that was supposed to pick me up from the airport. And, I was calling this woman. Auntie was not picking her calls. God. I was like, what's going on? Why must everything be a struggle? Auntie was not picking her calls. I was like, what's going on? I will call this lady, even though she later explained to me what happened. That's why I told you she's a very, very nice lady. She later explained to me what happened, which is personal. I don't need to disclose that here, but she later explained to me why she couldn't make it. So I called my sister while I was at the airport. I was like, she's not picking. What do we do? I think we need to book an Uber. And then they booked an Uber for me. The Uber man came. He picked me up in the freezing cold, guys. It was freezing, guys. He now drove me all the way to my apartment, and that was where that was the moment I confirmed that my village people were really at work. We came to the apartment. I knocked. Nobody was responding, guys. I was like, but I'm not going back to that airport though, if that is what this whole situation is trying to put me into. I'm not going back to that airport, guys. I was sleeping this freezing winter. My taxi man was like, God bless that taxi man. He's such a nice man. He now asked me, are you sure we're actually at the right place? I was like, yeah, this should be the right place. He started to help me. He parked his car, started helping me with, looking around to know if we're actually at the right place. And then eventually he asked me, oh, do I have a number that we could call? I was like, oh, yes, we could call my landlord. We called this man. The landlord was not picking. Why is it at this moment that he's not picking? That was when I knew that I can't win. Then at this journey. So you wouldn't believe it. This taxi man stayed there with me. Like he was just there with me until the landlord called back. Guys, that taxi man, God bless that man, for God bless his generation, because he was the only way I could contact anybody. I don't have a Canadian SIM card. I don't have Wi-Fi. So there was nothing I could do. He was the only person I had. And he stayed there with me till they eventually opened the door. I think my landlord called somebody from the inside and the person opened the door. So that was how I went into my apartment, guys. Immediately I just came inside. I just laid down on the floor. I was like, I remember the last night I said was like, thank you, Jesus. It was a crazy experience. It was nothing like my travel in 2017. Or is it 2018? It was nothing like that travel at all. That one was just a smooth journey. Everything just went like... But this one, it was like they had it out for me. Like my village people were like, where should I go Canada? And one, I could go see give. I just thank God that I arrived, in one piece. What the devil meant for evil, God turned it for good. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Come and join the family. I would really appreciate it. It helps my channel a lot. More videos are still on the way. I'm going to be explaining some steps that you would take when you get into Canada. I'm going to be making them much more in depth so that you know exactly what you are doing when you arrive. It's not going to be like some of these vlogs on YouTube where they just tell you, oh, go and get this, I went to go and get this, I went to go and get that. It's going to be more of, I'm going to be telling you how you can do it and how you can get those things. So yeah, guys, that's it for this video. For me, myself, and I, it's goodbye. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.